Yes, I also wanted to make sure and make this available to you. It seems as though the opposition to Measure 3 is definitely quite funded, quite organized. What's driving force behind that? I'll go with you, Tom. On that.
Well, we've had an interest in that, of course, too. And as you know and our listeners know, most definitely you need to report your contributions and also your expenditures. And the latest report that we have shows that there is a total of approximately $700,000 that has been contributed for Measure Number 3, no vote. Of that $700,000, approximately $649,000 is from Planned Parenthood. $649,000, or about 94%. About $40,000 of that is from ACLU. Which means that over 99% of the funding sources are from out of state. And I think many times North Dakotans, especially when we're talking about measures and things that are very important, we'd all like to see that most of that support might come from internally in the state. And I think this is very telling. And I know that we have not attempted to make that tie between the life issue and abortion. I know you have questioned us on that. But then, on the other hand, now we see where a lot of this, where a lot of this funding is coming from, and we didn't ask them to put money in, but and yet here Planned Parenthood $649,000, and the question I have, maybe for our listeners and for you, Joel, is why would they want to an organization that is in the business of providing abortions? Why would they want to stick $650,000 into a measure that's on religious liberty?
There's a ton of email to get to here, and some of it in direct relation to that, and we'll get to that, but you can't promise people you're going to take phone calls and let them sit on hold all day. Mike, you're on with Chris Dobson and Tom Freier. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, well, first I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. I would encourage you to steer the ship back where you started. Joe, you're interrupting them, you're trivializing their subject, you're changing the subject, you're trying to keep them on the defense, and that's age-old debate tactics. I'd like to have further explanation of some of the specifics. Yesterday I called in, mentioned that the Catholic Church is prohibited from partaking in the foster care program for children in Illinois because of the lack of this type of protection. Could we have some more of those kind of points?
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate your call. Chris, you can speak to that one.
Yeah, that did happen in Illinois. It's happened in Massachusetts and also the District of Columbia. It goes to the type of law. It's a generally applicable law that infringes upon the ability to serve. And in that case, well, the details are complicated in Illinois, but it's a type of law we could talk about, is that it's a generally applicable law that might infringe upon the freedom to serve by saying you have to serve X. For example, in Nebraska, there's a regulation, not the legislature, but a Nebraska body passed a regulation that says that even Catholic Charities counselors have to provide relationship counseling to same-sex couples that are married next door in Iowa. That's the type of regulation we're talking about.
What reverse things in Illinois? The example given on foster parenting.
I believe that they passed the Civil Unions Act and then required all the foster care agencies to follow that law.
And so what reversed allowing the Catholic agencies to provide foster care?
No, they always did provide foster care.
Right, but what he's saying is this took that away. I mean, this was a right that was taken away from the Catholic charities. Correct. And so has that been reversed?
No.
So they're not able to provide foster care.
Right. All the dioceses of Illinois have moved out of the foster care service.
And that was my question, Chris. Let's get to Tom. Tom, you're on News and Views. Go ahead, Tom.
Yes, I would just like to commend both your guests. They irregardless of what's going to happen with Measure Number 3, they won the debate today on your show. There's no question about that. I will echo what your previous caller, Mike, said. When you look at how you interviewed George Sinner and when you had people call in, it's like day and night. I mean, if this was a level playing field, Measure 3 would pass by 15 points.
Did
But
you
it's not
get
even
access,
close. There
Tom?
is hostility towards Measure 3. It's not a question of trying to have a good debate to see who's right or wrong.
Well,
There's
I mean, this is the second example of people upset because it's not being fair, but they both got access. So yeah, I'm not buying it. Mike, you're on News and Views. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, good morning. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but would this law allow me, as a non-Catholic, to sue the Catholic Church for not letting me take communion in the church and depending on my religious rights to take Holy Communion because Jesus started this, not the Catholics?
Chris?
The law would have nothing to do with that.
It wouldn't.
No.
So then it really nothing to do with religion, in my opinion. If the federal government says I have the right to practice my religion, and the Catholics say I can't because I'm not in the right building.
But this gets to the core issue that Joel raised earlier. Measure 3 only concerns government action. And the situation we're describing is a relationship between you and the Catholic Church or you and God, and there's no government involved there.
But that's, Chris, where we differ on the issue, because you say it only involves government action, and what I'm saying is what it doesn't. What it does is it prohibits certain government action. What you're saying is you need further and greater protection of your religious freedoms, that you're afraid that certain religious freedoms are going to be taken away from you from the government, which is what Measure 3 is all about, providing further protection. Is that safe to say? Or am I being too argumentative?
No, first you started off incorrect and then you got correct. So
well, okay, explain it to me. I mean, you're
it's only about limiting government action. It has nothing to do with individual rights between individuals.
In your mind, you're trying to limit government telling you as a religion what you can do, right?
Correct.
So
yes.
his example, I don't think, is so outrageous. He's saying that I should be allowed to take communion because that's my personal belief as a person of Christianity.
There's
and
no
what
law.
he's saying is,
where's the law involved in there?
No, but what he's saying is you've infringed upon his personal right as a church. See, and what I'm saying is it goes down this slope, and that's the point that I'm trying to make is, you know, when you're sitting here telling me that you think that a woman can wear a veil for a license, Chris,
I said she could. No, I said there was a good reason to require it to be removed, Joel.
But now we're going down the good reasons instead of you accepting whatever laws might be
placed. Which gets down to it. You think that you should not have to have a good reason. The state shouldn't need a good reason before infringing upon religious liberty.
I do believe that if the state tells you about a gun in a parking lot, that you should be able to have that debate. I think that if the state says that, wait a second, on your way to church, you're driving through some neighborhoods that you don't want to be without a handgun, and you want to have that in your pickup, you can go ahead and have it. And you're telling me that church says I shouldn't. That was the example you gave.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Okay,
back to
I don't have time. Stick around. I'll get to you. I will. I got more time for you right after this.